Blog Talk Radio.
All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Women of Golf Show. I'm Ted Odorico, and right alongside, of course, each and every week is none other than Legends Tour player and LPGA professional Cindy Miller, and we are the hosts of the Women of Golf Show. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning, Ted.
How are you doing this morning, Cindy? You're still in Buffalo?
I am in Buffalo. It's sunny and 75. Perfect weather.
What? Perfect. That's exactly right. Perfect weather to get out on the golf course and help some others learn this wonderful game. All right, Cindy, before we start, let me just remind everybody, of course, we are live every Tuesday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here on the blogtalkradio.com network. And, of course, best way to find us is go to blogtalkradio.com/Women of Golf. Pardon me, or just type in Women of Golf up in the search key, and that will take you front and center each and every week. You can also just scroll down to the on-demand section if you're not able to join us live, and you can find all of the previously aired shows, including today's, will be there in their entirety, so you can listen to it on the recorded version. You can also check us out at iTunes.com, Stitcher.com, and TuneIn.com as well. Again, just type in Women of Golf, and you'll find us there on any of those social media platforms. And, of course, we always update the show on many of the social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, and, of course, LinkedIn as well. We post every week just to let you know who's going to be coming up and on the show. You're also welcome to call in and speak to either Cindy or I or both or any of our guests during the live broadcast, and you can do so by calling area code 347-945-5855. And if you want to send us any comments or questions about the show, or maybe if you're somebody in the golf industry, not necessarily have to be a teacher professional. Maybe you're somebody that's got a great product or service that helps complement the golf industry. We'd love to hear from you. You can reach out to either Cindy or I, and our emails are as follows: cindy@cindymillergolf.com, and mine is ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. We got a great show for you this morning. Zach Sepanik, the Tour's media relations official, is going to be joining us here in just a moment, giving us a little bit of an update on what's happening for the remainder of the Symetra Tour season. And then a little bit later on, we're going to be joined by Tammy Borden, Director of Operations for the LPGA's Teaching and Club Professional. She's going to be joining us on the second half of the show. But, Cindy, let's bring on our first guest and actually welcome back Zach Sepanik.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. Good morning, Cindy.
All right, good. That's a little bit better, Zach. That's sounding better. I had a little technical issue earlier, but thanks for calling back in. Cindy, let me just start off real quick and just to get things rolling here. Zach, I think probably the first thing is let's talk about. I believe there's 8 tournaments left in the Symetra Tour schedule for the season. Maybe tell us a little bit about what's coming up and how the season's been going so far.
Yeah, I mean, season's been great. We've had some real mix of winners, from veterans like Stephanie Kono, who you've talked to, Kendall Dye, who you talked with last week, to rookies like Mooney He and Unjung Sung. So there's been a lot of great golf played by a lot of players, ranging in from their rookie year to some have been out here for almost a decade. So you have a large range of players that have really cemented their place in 2018 Symetra Tour history. And then, like you said, Ted, 8 tournaments left. So we get it started this week with the PHC Classic at Brown Deer Park Golf Course, just outside Milwaukee, Wisconsin, this Friday through Sunday. I'm not sure if you're too familiar with Brown Deer Park Golf Course, but it's actually where Tiger Woods announced he was turning pro and made his professional debut at the Greater Milwaukee Open. It's hosted the Greater Milwaukee Open as well as several other PGA tournaments, been under several other names for several years on the PGA Tour. So some rich history in Milwaukee, rich professional golf history, and the Symetra Tour continues that with the fourth playing of this event. So 156 players this week, 54 holes, $100,000 purse, and maybe the biggest prize of them all, not necessarily the purse, is that the top two finishers this week earn entry into the final major of the LPGA Tour season, the 2018 Evian Championship. So just talking with the girls and knowing the buzz around the tournament, I think you get a lot greater sense that that is the prize worth holding at the end of the weekend.
Yeah, a lot at stake besides the win for this tournament. That's great. Cindy, do you have you have a question or two for Zach?
What is the buzz around the range, if you will? Do you see people nervous? Do you see people working more diligently now that the season's winding down and the top 10 finishers of the tour get exempt status on the LPGA Tour next year?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think at this point of the season, you've kind of you have that group that separated themselves a little bit. You know, you got your top 10, but I would say out of any year, this is a top 10 that's ever fluctuating, especially in the 7 to 10 range. You know, you have Dottie Ardina at 1, Stephanie Meadow at 2, Jenny Hagelin at 3, Easy Gobs at 4. Elizabeth Sokol climbed the ranks from 7 to 5 after her performance in Albany a couple weeks ago. So you have a top 5 who's been there and is kind of battle tested, I would say, this year, and seems to have cemented themselves as probably the ones that everybody should be chasing. But from there, you've got names that, you know, you have winners, but winners that have also some left to prove. So yeah, I would say definitely just standing out on the range and talking to the ladies. There's definitely a sense of now's the time to really chase what their dreams are all about, and it's a good time to do that with the PHC Classic. And next week we have the Firekeepers Casino Hotel Championship in Battle Creek, Michigan. And then after that is probably one of our top 3 events in terms of purse size, the Sioux Falls Great Life Challenge in South Dakota. That's a purse of $210,000. And then from there you'll have a stop in Garden City, Kansas, El Dorado, Arkansas, Prattville, Alabama, and Longwood, Florida, before the Symetra Tour Championship concludes with the biggest purse of the year at $225,000. So you have some purses that'll make or break down the stretch, especially this continued stretch of events to end the season with 6 in a row at the end of the year. So, but you also have, like I said, the Sioux Falls Great Life Challenge and Symetra Tour Championship that can really alter a top 10, including if you have someone sitting in the top 20 just outside that maybe has a great performance at one of those tournaments and jumps up into the top 10 kind of sneakily. So, yeah, there's definitely that sense of now's the time to push, and now's the time to really get going and make a run at it. But I think you also have, we've talked about this before, Q Series. It really, the top from 11 through 30, they will get exempt into Q Series. So there's that, also that sense of that range as well. You get all the ladies are pushing for that top 10, obviously, but there's plenty who have kind of maybe said, hey, I'm sitting in the 70 to 100 range right now, and if I can have a few good tournaments, maybe not necessarily win, but if I can have a few good tournaments and some good showings down the stretch, I could sneak up into that top 30 as well. So yeah, there's a great sense of urgency, I think, for the final eight events, but not only from, I would say, maybe your 1 to 50 range, but also from your 51 to 100 range of, do I get that? Can I find a way into that top 10, or can I find a way into that top 30 to get exempt into Q Series?
Can you explain what Q Series is? Because the Q School has changed so much over the last few years. So I know there used to be stage 1, stage 2, and final. Can you explain what you mean by the top 30 and the Q Series?
Yeah, sure thing. So Q Series is a new addition to just the overall LPGA qualifying scheme. And you still have stage 1. You still have stage 2. Those things aren't changing one bit. But from the change that you mentioned, Q Series is now a cumulative 8-round structure at Pinehurst Resort. It will take place October 22nd through November 3rd. And like I said, players will go through stage 1. They'll go through stage 2. But there will be more of an emphasis on the Q Series, and it will be harder for players to get from Q2 into Q Series because of the amount of players that are going to be already exempt into Q Series. So you'll have your top 45 finishers and ties will eventually receive LPGA membership next year at Q Series, but who will fill the field at Q Series includes the following. So you'll have players from numbers 101 to 150 and ties on the current year LPGA official money list. They are exempt in the Q Series, as well as players from numbers 11 through 30 and ties on the Symetra Tour official money list. So there's a large chunk of players already in the final Q Series field based on their position on the LPGA and Symetra Tour money lists, respectively. And then a maximum of 10 spots will go to players in the top 75 on the Rolex Women's World Golf Rankings, not in that those categories I mentioned before. And then the top 5 collegiate players in the country, according to Golf Week, they'll also be exempt. And then from there, to round out the field, whatever is left, a select number of players from Stage 2 will get into Q Series. So obviously Q1 and Q2, there's a way to get into Q Series by going that route. But at the same time, it also puts an emphasis on getting Symetra Tour status and coming out here. And it puts a greater emphasis on the competition of the Symetra Tour, I believe, from making girls come out here and get status, compete year-round on the tour, and see how they perform. And, based on how they perform, you can work your way into Q Series. And then you're going to have plenty of names on the LPGA official money list that have maybe played Symetra Tour before, or names that aren't maybe necessarily used to coming back into a situation where they're fighting to earn back their card when in the numbers 101 to 150 range. So it's going to be a great test, and I think it puts a greater emphasis on the Symetra Tour in terms of exposure and also getting to that next level of the LPGA. A lot of people are eventually going to see that Symetra Tour is the way to go, so that they don't have to go from Q1 to Q2 and then sweat it out and see if they can get into Q Series based on the number of players that that do fill the field, how much are remaining from Q2 that can advance.
So let me just ask you a question. Is the Q Series the final stage full and it's 8 rounds?
Yeah, so Q Series replaces the final stage. So the final stage was a 5-round tournament, it was 4 rounds and then a cut, and then you had your final round. Now you have 8 total rounds. The first 4 rounds will be played on Pinehurst number 6 from October 24th through 27th. And then the scores that everybody has through those 4 rounds get transferred over to Pinehurst course number 7 from October 31 to November 3. So everything that you're doing, you may have a bad round on Pinehurst course number 6, but if you can make up for that, slowly fight your way back into the mix, and then you have another 4 rounds to turn things around, and it makes it more of a marathon instead of a sprint to the finish that maybe final stage kind of felt like, and you really get you're truly gonna get your top 45 players that deserve to be making their names on the LPGA next year.
After the first 4 rounds, what do you cut to?
There is no cut. There is no cut.
Oh, wow.
So everybody plays, everybody competes, everybody battles. I mean, I remember just when I started in October last year, Q2 was my first event, and so final stage was one of my final events just of last year, and the fierce competition that goes on with that, the mental focus that every player exerts is unbelievable. And this, I think, only is going to elevate it because it'll elevate it, but also take it back just a little bit, because you have that sense of, it's not necessarily a sense of urgency right from round one, where you stepped on the course and if you had a bad day in round one, you immediately felt like you had to make up for that in round two and round three, because come round four, you're going to be floating around the cut line. Now you have that sense of, if I have a bad day in round one, I have 7 more rounds to make up for maybe an off day that I had to start off in Q series. So obviously you're going to have that. Yeah, you're going to have that sense of urgency, but you're also going to have that it's going to allow players to play a little more loose, and you're going to be able to see some better golf in the sense that they're not going to be scrapping for their lives at every turn and every new tee. So, and there's also a $150,000 purse that will be distributed at the event's completion. So that'll be courtesy of Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina, the title sponsor.
And one more question, and then Ted, go ahead. The total field for Q Series is 144 or 156?
The total field, I think that's just determined based off the number of players. I want to say 156. I'm looking for it here in my notes. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but
well, the only catch is going to be daylight savings time to get all those drills through if they're all playing on the same course.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. I mean, on the PGA Tour, when it's not daylight savings time, they only have a field of 144, and then it changes to 156.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. So there'll be. There's obviously a good field. I want to say it's going to be around a 156 field, but that's me. If that's
not
me trying to
just
remember
wondering.
the number. Yeah.
All right, Ted, go ahead.
Thanks. Zach, I just wanted to sort of follow up a little bit on some of that discussion. A couple of things. Obviously, a lot of these young ladies. What an interesting series! I like the option or the availability for them to compete for those 8 rounds, and really, obviously, there's always going to be pressure when you're trying to get your card, but this gives them a little bit more breathing room, I think. But a couple of questions I wanted to ask you. First off, for those Symetra players that get into that top from 11 to 30 spot, don't make the top. Obviously, get an opportunity to go into the Q series. If for some reason they don't earn their LPGA card for next season, do they still have status on the Symetra Tour, or what happens there?
Yeah, once you go through Q2, you get Symetra Tour status. So
okay.
So I mean, if people are exempt in the Q series, they'll regain their Symetra status. Anybody who goes to Q series will have Symetra Tour status. It just is a matter from there of who gets those top spots. You go to the LPGA, and then the rest will kind of unfold into Symetra Tour.
Hi, Cindy. I apologize, everyone, for that. We had a brief power outage, so I apologize. I was able to get things corrected here, so I apologize for that brief interruption. Let me just bring Zach on board as well. Hey, Zach, I'm sorry about that. We had as I was just explaining, yeah, we had a bit of a power surge here.
Are you there?
I can hear Cindy.
All right, let's try that one more time. My apologies again. I'm not sure. I don't know whether they're maybe doing some work in the area, but anyways, as I said, Zach, before we have any further issues, let me just ask you my next question, and that is, once the players get into that final stage, and obviously, earn their LPGA card, obviously they move on. But what I wanted to ask you is, obviously there's a lot of competition, as you mentioned, in that. What's some of the concerns and the feedback that you get? Because you obviously get a chance to talk with a lot of the young ladies on the Symetra Tour. What's some of their biggest anxiety about going through this Q Series?
I think just the cutthroat nature of it, I guess, because in the past there's been a bigger representation of players from the second stage into the final stage. There's been a larger group of players that have qualified and funneled from Q2 to the final stage. So I think that is maybe the biggest concern of players that aren't inside that top 30 and are really fighting for that top 30 spot this year. Whereas in the past, there's been players that have understood that they can go to Q2 and they can probably make it to final stage with a good showing, because we had the top, I want to say, 80 players and ties sneak into the final stage. So now you have such a smaller window of opportunity, and like I said earlier, though, it goes back to just you have to compete each week and you have to play your best out here. And it puts a greater emphasis on the players who are really deserving and playing well and who are at the top of their game. Sometimes that happens to be at the top of their game at the right time, but in this sense, in this broadened sense now, it creates a lasting, they're at the top of their game. And they've been at the top of their game for a while now. So I would say that's probably where maybe the most anxiety lies. It's just that lack of big numbers that transition from Q2 to Q Series, and the battle for a top 30 spot, I think, is going to might even be greater than the battle for the top 10.
Wow. Now you see a lot of the players too, Zach. Each week as you're at the tournaments, is there one player that sort of stands out that you've seen kind of the most improvement? Maybe they're not necessarily in the top 10 racing for the card this year, but you've seen the most improvement throughout the season so far. Is there any one player, or maybe even two players, that sort of stand out?
Yeah, I would say Stephanie Kono really stands out. She went from she shared. You guys talked with her, I think, a couple weeks ago, and
yes.
She shared her story
yes.
about just the many injuries she's dealt with, and how 6 months ago, when she won in French Lick last month, how 6 months prior she couldn't even move parts of her body because of an injury. And I think just her newfound success has instilled a confidence in her that has allowed her to kind of find her footing and find a belief and a kind of profound sense of I can do this. and I think she's been one that's she's gone from not necessarily irrelevant, but one that you didn't really hear of much to begin the season to one who's now making a case to get back to the LPGA. I would say she's definitely one that stands out. And then Stephanie Meadows, one who you can't, there's nothing you can hide behind the numbers. She has 7 top 10s. She has a victory this year. She has let's see here. She has 26 of her 38 rounds this year are under par, which blows away the rest of the field in terms of total number of rounds under par. 26 is unimaginable for a lot of players at this point in the season. So a testament to her consistency and what she's been through in her life. You've talked to her earlier this year, just with losing her dad a couple of years ago, and then an injury that forced her out all of last year, to where she lost her status on the LPGA Tour, and now has come out here and really made a statement in terms of where she wants to be next year. I don't think it's any secret that her number one objective is to be making an impact in the LPGA Tour next season. So I think those are two names that definitely stand out. One that's kind of been there, and another one that's kind of refinding her footing, if you will.
Right. Well said. Well, Zach, we want to thank you for popping in this morning, and again, I apologize for the glitch here.
No worries.
I appreciate you coming in and giving us an update, and we look forward to speaking with next week's winner here on the Women of Golf Show. Thanks for joining Cindy and I this morning.
Yeah, thanks. No problem. It was a good time as always, and we'll get you THC Classic champion next week.
Thanks, Zach. Have
Perfect.
a great day.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that was Zach Sepanik, the media and public relations official from the Symetra Tour, joining us this morning. And again, I apologize for a little bit of a glitch, technical glitch, but I think everything seems to be fine now. All right, so now I'm going to introduce our next guest, because I see she's very patiently waiting in the wings. And, of course, I'm talking about Tammy Borden. She's the Director of Operations for the LPGA's Teaching and Club Professionals. And she was transplanted to the Ormond Beach area from outside Philadelphia back in 1981. You could say that she is the closest thing to being a local beside the actual people who were born here. During college, she worked mainly in hospitality, specifically in hotel operations, and graduated in 2000 from the University of Central Florida with a bachelor's in business management and administration. She wanted to refocus her career path, and in summer of 2001, she stumbled across something that at the time she did not know that this was going to be her true passion, but a job at the Ladies Professional Golf Association, or LPGA for short. Hired as the Teaching and Club Professionals Member Services Assistant, she quickly realized that her job was all about the members all the time. Whether her focus was on events or certification, she became to find her true talent was in operations and event management. She has slowly evolved in her 17 years at the LPGA as the Director of Operations, as I mentioned, for teachers and club professional, overseeing all aspects of the department. And sort of an interesting side note, one of her major personal accomplishments resulting at her job at the LPGA was that she met her husband through a coworker, and now has 2 beautiful boys who are 9 and 12. So, Cindy, let's welcome our very special guest in the second half of the show, Tammy Borden.
Good morning.
Hi, Cindy. How are ya?
Ted, you don't know this, but Tammy's my mommy.
It's very scary that she calls me that, just so everybody knows.
Yeah, because I could be her mother, but Tammy takes care of me.
Tammy,
I do.
Sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Cindy, you go ahead and start things off then.
So, thanks for joining us. I hope you're having a great day down there. It's pouring in Buffalo right now, so forgive me, and we're on our way to teach an elite high school class.
Yeah, no, it's actually nice in Florida for once in a while, everybody. It's actually sunny and no rain for the last couple of days, so it's really nice down here. But we're getting ready for our LPGA Teaching Club Professional National Championship, which is our premier event. We're at Pinehurst number 8 at the end of August. I know Cindy is playing and bringing a Pro-Am team, as she always does. So, and I do take care of more than Cindy. We have over 1,700 Teaching Club Professional members, and we're all over the world now. We're in 25 different countries. We actually have a level 1 program going on in Korea in our LPGA Asia section, which is half Korean members, half Japanese members. It started yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so we've expanded a lot in the last 5 to 6 years under the direction of Nancy Henderson, our Chief Teaching Officer, and Mr. Michael Wan, our LPGA Commissioner.
Very good.
Ted, I know you have a question.
I've got lots of questions.
Okay, good.
I want to just, ask you a couple of questions here. And obviously, most people when they hear about golf, they think of course, the players and obviously teaching professionals. But what goes on behind the scenes that really help make an organization like the LPGA successful? What goes on that people don't know about the LPGA that's helped to make them a successful brand?
I think it's our passion for the game of golf. I mean, anybody in the golf industry is just trying to leave the game better than they found it, in our organization specifically. The LPGA, it's a motto we have. It's called Act Like a Founder. The LPGA staff came up with that about 6 years ago, and we live every day like a founder. 13 great women founded this organization, and they did a lot to keep it going, especially after Babe Dietrichs and Harris passed away. I mean, they set the golf course, they paid out their purses, they did all that. So we run this organization like a family, and we keep it going based on that. And Mike is very passionate about what we do in the LPGA, especially on the teaching club professional side, and that's how our expansion has gone into Asia. And that's where I think we make the biggest difference, is our passion for golf and leaving the game better than we found it.
Yeah, and Mike Wan, by the way, as you mentioned, the commissioner of the LPGA, is very hands-on. We always hear it when we've had a lot of the other executives from the LPGA come on the show. We've had a number of them over the years that Cindy and I have been doing this, and they always have something very, very positive to say, unsolicited by fact, but something very positive to say about his hands-on approach. He gets right in there and sort of gets his hands dirty, if you will, with everybody else there, and I think that's a testament to his leadership.
It is absolutely true. I mean, he travels an awful lot, but when he's in the office, he makes it a very big point to walk around the office and say hi to everybody. And he does do that when he's in the office. I'm sure you've heard this, he gives us all nicknames. So he walks around and says morning to us all and uses our nicknames 90% of the time. So it's great to be working in an organization, and I've been in this organization for quite some time. So, and Mike has really elevated the LPGA to the level that we're at now.
And your nickname is?
Philly. I am originally from Philadelphia, as you said earlier, and when he first started working for the organization, we had hockey bets going on because I'm a big hockey fan, and so is he. So we were Philly.
Yeah. Cindy, let me just ask one more question. I'll throw it back to you. Tammy, obviously, in any organization, including the LPGA, there's always you're juggling so many things. You've got issues with players and things that need to be handled there, tournaments, events to organize, and then, of course, you've got the teaching and club professional division as well. So there's a lot of pressures in that type of job, especially with an organization as big as the LPGA. What do you guys do for fun? How do you keep things fun and upbeat and uplifting, even through some of those difficult times where there's a lot of pressure on you?
Well, tell you the truth, we our motto under Nancy is we work hard, but we play harder. We like to go. Some of our staff went to a local baseball game around here. I mean, I spent a lot of time with my family, my boys and my husband. But you know, you have to separate yourself. I mean, I am very accessible, as Cindy knows. However, you know, some days you have to just turn that phone off and do things for yourself. And I think that keeps a balance for all of us because we are at such a high demand because we're supporting such a great organization.
Yeah, well said. Cindy, go ahead.
What are the last-minute things you need to do to prepare for the LPGA National Teaching and Club Professional Championship?
Right now, we're just finalizing the field. We're up to 135 participants, Cindy. So we're finalizing a few things for some of the participants that signed up by our deadline date on Friday. We actually drive a Penske truck to North Carolina, which is a 9-hour trip. So next, in 2 weeks from today, we'll be loading that truck and driving to North Carolina to set up that event. So just finalizing last-minute details, printing things, making sure we have all of our ducks in a row, finalizing, you know, water, bananas, you know, the operations stuff. That kind of thing. Volunteers, I have a volunteer call here in about 20 minutes with our volunteer chair to make sure everything is good on the end of the tournament. You know, operations, it's a lot of moving parts. I've been doing it for 17 years now, so I basically have checklists in my head. But it's one of my favorite parts of my job is the national championship.
Why?
I just like seeing, the favorite part is seeing you guys, seeing the members. I do pride myself in knowing the members by name just about for all these years I've been doing it. And just to make an event happen. And I'm really excited that our event has elevated to the top 8 in the championship division, get exemption in the KPMG Women's PGA Championship, and we also now have exemptions into the LPGA Senior Championship through our T&CP National Championship. The top 5 of the senior division and the top 10 in the championship division that are over 50 get exemptions into the LPGA Tour events. So our LPGA members, teachers, are teaching every day, but they like to play still too. So I love that we give those opportunities to our members.
Awesome. Great answer.
Yeah. Fantastic. Tammy, let me ask you just another question here.
Sure.
You know, most people I think understand. You know, if you want to play professional golf, they kind of understand the ropes, if you will, of how to go about doing that. But
right.
There may be some that might be tuning into the show this morning that might think of getting in the teaching side of things. So for the women out there thinking of becoming an LPGA teacher professional, what do they need to know?
Basically, we have our education program, our teacher education program is something you can go to and look online. It's 3 levels of education. When you apply for membership, of course, you lose your amateur status, which a lot of people don't know when you apply to a professional organization like the LPGA or the PGA. You lose your amateur status, but our education program is so student-centered and such a unique model comparatively that if you do want to teach golf, I believe that we have the best education out there. And our manager of education, Gwen Checo, she's also a Teaching Club professional member. She runs our program, and it's just our education is based on the progression of a golf lesson. So it teaches you communication. It teaches you about equipment and loft and lie and all those things that go into it, but we do it in a way that it's about the student, not about the teacher. So that's one of the uniqueness about our teachers, Cindy specifically. All of them are about you, the student, and making you better, not and helping you with your game. So It's very easy to go on LPGA.com to our Teaching Club Professional page to look at our education program and or call.
Right, exactly. And you hit it right on the head. Cindy's a great example of, obviously, Cindy plays as well has played on the LPGA and, of course, the Legends Tour, but she also really epitomizes what a true teacher professional is as well, with all of her many years of hard work and helping to grow this game. Cindy, let me ask you, obviously you kind of alluded to the beginning, obviously you have a close relationship with Tammy and enjoy, what do you, I mean, you're calling her mom, so there must be something there. But Cindy, what do you see and understand how important of a role for you as a teaching professional is somebody like having somebody like Tammy on board the LPGA organization? How important does that relationship need to be for you as a teacher professional?
Well, it makes all the difference in the world. The LPGA culture in the building, when you walk in, you get a sense that everyone likes being there. So it's not like a normal, I don't want to say normal, hopefully it's not normal, but the feeling you get is this culture is awesome. People are passionate about being there. They're grateful they have a job. They love what they do. They are open and they communicate with each other, which starts with Mike, Juan, of course, but it trickles down to Nancy Henderson and Nancy down to Tammy down to all the other girls, Gwen and you know, Brittany and everybody else that works there, that they all communicate, they know what's going on, and you can count on them to know the answers to things. Because sometimes, you know, we're all busy working, they're all busy running 40 different things at the same time, you know, the education program going on in Korea, and, you know, they're spinning plates as we are. And Tammy is just someone that knows what's going on, and I can text Tammy. You know, I shouldn't say that on the radio because now everybody's going to bother her, but and she just knows what's going on and she answers you, so, which is great. And the other thing is that we're a lot alike. We're both control freaks, and we need to know what's going on, which makes it even better. But so Tammy, thank you. I appreciate you and Nancy and everybody down there and everything you do for all of us.
Oh, Cindy, it's my pleasure. Just so my husband teases me. He always says if we win the lotto, he says I would go to work the next day because I do love my job. I've never woke up in the morning and said, I just don't feel like going to work today.
Yeah, and you can tell. So thank you.
Well, let me just say for those of you tuning into the show that at the end of the program, we will give out Tammy's number so that you can all text her with any questions or concerns that you may have. So any of you teaching and club professionals out there that maybe want to get a hold of Tammy direct, we'll give out her number at the end of the show. Tammy, let me just that was good, Cindy. I like that. Let me just ask you a question since you actually sort of opened the door. As I mentioned in the early opening comments, you mentioned your husband. And according to in your bio, you actually met through a coworker there. Obviously, you don't have to get into all the details, but just give us a little bit of a leeway as to how that came about.
Well, I've been with LPGA longer than him. I met him 15 years ago. So a coworker, her husband worked with my husband, and they were friends, and my girlfriend that I worked with said, hey, there's this guy you've got to meet. And I'm like going, okay. And she described him, and I know I'm saying this on the radio and he'll probably kill me. He was described as, he looked like Toby Keith and a cross between him and The Undertaker, the wrestler, which scared me a little bit. It's just that he's 6'4". He's a big guy. And I still went to the party to meet him. So, and that was 15 years ago, and we've been married for 13 now. And so he is basically, my boys have 1,700 aunts because they've watched me meet my husband, get married, be pregnant with both my boys. So when they travel with me every once in a while, they definitely have a lot of support through the membership as well as I do.
Perfect. What a great bonus, if you will, being a part of the LPGA organization, that you're able to meet your husband and that. Thank you for sharing that story. So as you get into sort of mid-season here, if you will, and you're coming to, of course, the last major of the LPGA, what's the focus now? Obviously, you want to finish strong for the season and get ready for next season. Is that generally what you guys are doing now?
Yeah, well, on the Teaching Club Professional side, we get a little bit more focused towards the end of the year because we have our two biggest events at the end of the year. On the tour side, they're very, very busy with the last couple events and the last major and going into the final swing of the season. It's just it's a busy time for all of us. The summer is probably one of the busiest times, but we really don't have an off season at the LPGA. People don't realize that. When we're like over the holidays for Christmas, that's really the time where we all need to recharge our batteries and like not look at your phones and, no offense to Cindy, not answer those texts that you get over the holidays to just recharge a little bit, or you burn yourself out. Everybody in this organization works so hard during the year to make sure that everybody does well, that we just need that recharge because it's such a focus for us to make sure all the ladies on all sides, the tour, Symetra, Teaching Club Professional, now our Amateur Golf Association, our amateur arm of the LPGA, the former EWGA, and our girls golf program. We have a lot of moving parts and a lot of things going on, but it's such a great organization, like I said, and we just work real hard to make sure everybody is in the right spot.
Yeah, and it is such a well-oiled machine, the LPGA. I mean, there are so many moving parts, Tammy, as you mentioned, and it is difficult to have to make sure that everything runs smoothly. So it is a testament to not only Michael, but all of you as well at the LPGA organization for doing such a fantastic job. You guys really are a leader in the industry as far as I'm concerned. Cindy, any final thoughts or questions that you might have for Tammy before we let her go?
I'm good to go. I just I appreciate everything you do, and she mentioned it's not really the end of the year because we've got our regional conference coming up in September, and then we've got the national team championship in December. So
yes,
and the other thing is I don't think I've ever texted you over Christmas because I don't want to talk to you then either. I need to recharge my battery. So not that I don't love you, but we all need downtime and to go in hiding.
Exactly.
Yes, so true. Well, Tammy, we want to thank you for joining us this morning, and we know that you've got lots of great things going on at the LPGA, and I know you've got to get back to work, so we appreciate you taking some time this morning, and hope you'll come back and join us on a future show, and we can maybe talk about some other things as well, and thank you for doing such a great job at the LPGA, and keep up the great work, and
absolutely.
Again, we thank you for joining us this morning.
No, thank you both. Take care. Have a good day.
Thanks, Tammy.
You're welcome, Sid. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. That was Tammy Borden, Director of Operations for the LPGA's Teaching and Club Professional Division. Boy, really just a great upbeat. You can again, I hate to sound like a broken record here repeating it, but it really is a testament to the organization. Everybody that's come on from the LPGA, not just the players and the teaching pros and things like that, but many of the staff that work there are always very upbeat and very excited to be part of a great team. So it is a testament to that organization for doing a great job.
Sure is.
All right. Well, we want to thank all of you for joining us this morning, and I know, Cindy, you've got to go, so we're going to close out a few minutes earlier this morning, but we want to thank again our very special guest, Zach Sepanik, Symetra Tours Media and Public Relations Official, for joining us for a few moments this morning, and again, my apologies for the earlier glitch. but things seem to have ironed out well. And also for Tammy Borden, again, Director of Operations for the LPGA Teaching and Club Professionals. And on behalf of Cindy Miller and I'm Ted Roderico. We want to thank you for joining us this morning again on the program, and we look forward to bringing the winner, of course, of the Symetra Tour event this week on next week's show, and another great, interesting guest to follow. So thanks for joining us, everybody, and be sure to tune in to the Women of Golf show next week. God bless and have a great weekend. Thanks, Cindy.
Thanks, Ted. Bye-bye.